Wednesday. You want to pretty. Hi, I'm John Mallos. Welcome to this live edition of Connect with Me on the showroom floor at Ventura TV on this Monday morning. It's on the air off the presses with our media expert today. We're talking about the Donald Trump administration. Yes, my friends, it's an ongoing investigation, or is it? That's right. That's the question today. And also toward the tail end of the program, we'll talk a little bit about these Fresno State athletes that are all coming out of this obviously our university here, that are playing major league sports, 3 sports, football, baseball, basketball. Your phone calls are important. 436-MeTV option 11. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
Back here on the program on a Monday morning. Glad you're here. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today on the program. It's on the air off the presses with our media expert today, talking about Donald Trump and a little bit about, well, what went on at the Oakland Coliseum over the weekend as the Oakland A's swept the New York Yankees. And why is that significant? Well, you've got Aaron Judge, who played at Fresno State. He struck out 3 times on Saturday. The 3rd time was on a called 3rd strike. He had so many people from Fresno, from Linden and Stockton in the stands over the weekend cheering him on. I went to the game on Saturday. We'll talk to our media expert a little bit about that. And also I talked to the new president for the Oakland A's. His name is Dave Kaval, talking about a new stadium being built in the city of Oakland. Excuse me, aren't they a day late and $1 short? Haven't the Raiders already made up their minds? But this stadium would be for the Oakland A's, not the Oakland Raiders. But you know what? I've heard all this before my entire life, the last 40 years. All right, let's get to it, right to it. Comcast, channel 375, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning. It's a call-in program, 436-MeTV, option 11. The fact of the matter is, if you don't have Comcast, it's not a problem. 43.6 and 13.1 over-the-air broadcast with a digital antenna. The replay comes later in the day at 2 in the afternoon, 13.6 YouTube. 8 o'clock tonight, 4.6 Biz TV. And before I get started, I want to mention that our guest tomorrow is going to be Aaron Blair. He's going to bring in a business partner with him, a man who owns a business in downtown Fresno. We'll talk about the viability of having a business in downtown Fresno. Fulton Street is about to open up not too far away now, about a month or so, maybe even less. So we'll talk about that. And then on Wednesday, we'll have Peter Nazaridian in the house. He's our resident family therapist. Maybe he can help us with this Oakland A's stadium thing. Wow, that thing is just, that's crazy. Anyway, you know what? I don't think I'll live to see a stadium, a new one, being built in the city of Oakland. I think maybe the earthquake in the Bay Area will come first. Anyway, let's hope not. I'm just talking off the top of my head. Let's get right to it. The president has been in office less than 5 months and so much chaos going on. It seems to be in total crisis mode. The administration seems to be in peril, and there seems to be so much confusion. Is the president under investigation, or is he not? I want to start almost from the beginning, but not quite. Let's go a month back. Put the picture up on the screen. We'll start with Sally Yates. There she is right there. And I asked the question, my friends, how many people have testified on Capitol Hill being peppered with questions about the Russian connection and why the former FBI director James Comey was fired? Sally Yates, the former acting attorney general who was fired by the president, testified on May the 8th. On May 17th, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein appointed Robert Mueller, there he is, as special counsel to investigate the Russian connection into the 2016 election. On June the 8th, James Comey himself testified before the Senate Intelligence Committee. He said the president lied and wanted the probe into Michael Flynn to come to a screeching halt. And Comey said he can prove it because he began taking extensive notes during one-on-one meetings with the president beginning on January the 27th.
You've had extensive experience at the Department of Justice and at the FBI. You've worked under presidents of both parties. What was it about that meeting that led you to determine that you needed to start putting down a written record?
A combination of things. I think the circumstances, the subject matter, and the person I was interacting with. Circumstances first, I was alone with the President of the United States, or the President-elect, soon to be President. The subject matter, I was talking about matters that touch on the FBI's core responsibility and that relate to the President-elect personally. And then the nature of the person. I was honestly concerned that he might lie about the nature of our meeting, and so I thought it really important to document. That combination of things I'd never experienced before, but it led me to believe I got to write it down, and I got to write it down in a very detailed way.
I think that's a very important statement you just made.
All right, my friends, on June 13th, Attorney General Jeff Sessions was called to testify. He was accused of stonewalling the committee. Exactly right. And just this past week, our president, Donald Trump, lashed out at his own Justice Department after this Washington Post and the New York Times reported that the president was under investigation. Trump then, with a Twitter rampage on Thursday, saying, "You are witnessing the single greatest witch hunt in American political history, led by some very bad and conflicted people." Friday, another Twitter, "I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the same man who told me to fire the FBI director. Witch hunt." Live in our studio, we're not going to witch hunt him. It's Dennis Hart. He is our media expert, has been here how many times, my friend?
67.
67 times, my friend, since 2012. That's the last 5 years. And you know what? This won't be his last, I guarantee it. 436-MeTV, option 11. Don't forget, we'll talk a little bit about what's going on in Oakland and this kid, Aaron Judge. Are we jumping the gun? They're comparing this guy to Mickey Mantle. Okay, are you kidding me? Does anybody out there remember who Mickey Mantle was? There's only one Mick, only one number 7. Of course, there's only one Aaron Judge. Can he be the next Mickey Mantle? I don't know. We'll ask our media expert. He follows the A's. He follows baseball just like I do. 436-MeTV, option 11. We're glad to have Dr. Thomas Casagrande as our sponsor today, right here on the program. At 20/20 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 20/20 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today.
When you're looking for KitchenAid innovation and quality, who has the answers, the selection, the price? Ventura TV Appliance. With billions in nationwide appliance buying power, more than Home Depot and Best Buy combined, will help you save. Our low prices on Energy Star qualified KitchenAid appliances save you energy and money, and pay no interest on select models when paid in full within 12 months. Ventura TV Appliance, serving you since 1951.
Back here on the program with your friend and mine, Dennis Hart, the media analyst, and your phone calls. Don't forget, we have an open phone line, and Dennis likes to rev it up, my friends, and he will today. 436-MeTV, option 11. And the sponsor today, Dr. Thomas Casagrande. I can't thank him enough for being a sponsor on this program. 67
times in 5 years. That's not bad.
Yeah, you melted your way into the studio today.
It's supposed to be 110 degrees today, and it felt like that in the car coming in. Of course, I'm too cheap to turn on the air conditioner, so it was a little bit warm in the car.
Yes. Okay. So this thing gets interesting because in today's paper you saw. Obviously, one of his financial advisors and one of his members of his, I guess you could say his counsel. He has many attorneys, being one of them.
He needs them.
Was on Meet the Press, okay?
Well, he was on all 4 shows yesterday.
He was, but I saw Meet the Press, and he said on there, no, he's not being investigated.
No. He really didn't say that. In fact, he was torn apart by Chris Wallace on Fox News when he went on there.
Did you see what he told Chuck Todd?
Yeah, but he then couched it. He said, "I really can't tell what's in Mueller's mind."
Oh, so he backtracked.
He backtracked. Oh, yeah.
From
he
what
said,
he
"I
told
really
Todd."
don't know." Right, exactly.
Oh, my God.
That's right.
Okay.
No, he was all over the place yesterday. Everything that Trump's done, and we've talked about this how many years now and months, Donald Trump, since he announced he was running for president,
We've
right?
been sitting here for 2 years talking about Trump.
Everything that's happening right now is self-inflicted on Trump's part. Every single thing. He can't help himself on Twitter. He says the stupidest thing when he sends out tweets. You know, he blowtorches, as you said, Rod Rosenstein last week. This is the guy who hired the special counsel, Robert Mueller, all right?
Right.
So he blowtorches Rosenstein and says, well, I'm being investigated by, and he told me to fire Comey. No, he didn't. He already told, as you know, Lester Holt, Trump did, on NBC Nightly, he fired Comey because he wanted to get him out of the way of the Russian investigation. He told the Russians that. He told the Russians that.
He told Lester Holt. Let me tell you, I have the exact quote right here as to what he told
He'd
Lester
already
Holt.
made up his mind to fire James
I've got
Comey,
the
the
quote.
FBI
Regardless of recommendations, I was going to fire Comey,
That's right.
knowing there was no good time to do it.
That's
this
right.
Russia thing is a made-up story.
Okay.
That's a direct quote from your press.
So here's the deal. Here's the deal. And I ask this question. I invite your callers to call in and weigh in on this, okay? If there's nothing there,
yes.
if there's no collusion between Donald Trump and the Russians, why does everything Trump does make it seem as if he's trying to cover up the investigation, to try to impede it? If there's no collusion, let the investigation go on, because they won't find anything, will they? And then he'll be vindicated, won't he? Everything he does, every tweet he sends out, every move he makes, seems designed to cover up, impede the investigation into the Russian connection.
The outside counsel, Jay Sekulow,
Right, Sekulow.
he was on all the
All the
programs,
four.
but I saw the one with Chuck Todd on Meet the Press, and he says that Trump not under investigation. If he said that once, Dennis, he said that a half a dozen times with Chuck Todd.
First of all, he doesn't know. Okay, he has no
then
clue.
why would he say that? Is he like Donald
Because
Trump?
he's lying for Donald. Why does he say that? Because he's covering up for Donald Trump, of course. He's been hired to protect Trump. His job is to keep Trump in the White House.
And so what happened between the show Meet the Press and when the time he went on on that show and when he went on
because
Fox?
Chris Wallace caught him in the lie twice during that show, and you can see it on the Washington Post website and the New York Times website, the video of the show. It's not fake news, it's video of the show. Twice he said Trump is being investigated. Wallace caught him in that and said, you've already admitted he's being investigated twice. No, I didn't. Yes, you did, just a couple of moments ago. He admitted he doesn't know. He has no clue.
The Washington Post, the New York Times are on this, and they have 5 different sources. Actually, the Washington Post had quoted 5 unnamed sources saying he's being investigated.
For obstruction of justice.
Question.
That's right.
Right. So how can this be fake news?
Right. Well, it's fake news to all those people who don't want to believe anything bad about their boy Donald Trump. And you've still got 35 or 40% of the population, Trump backers, who supported him in the election. It doesn't matter. Trump said this during the campaign. It doesn't matter if Donald Trump goes out in the middle of Manhattan and shoots somebody. He's innocent as far as they're concerned. There is nothing anybody can say about their man Trump. So here's the question that I have, all right? Again.
Hey, hang on a moment, caller.
And it's for all of us.
Second.
It's a very simple question. It's so simple. You wonder why Trump backers don't accept this one. If there's nothing there, if it's all fake news by the Washington Post, the New York Times, ABC, NBC, CBS, the Wall Street Journal, if this is all fake news, then the investigators won't find anything, will they? Then there'll be no sign of collusion, will there? But if it's not fake news, then why does Trump, every time he turns around, seem to be impeding that investigation, firing the FBI director, threatening the deputy AG, Mueller and Rosenthal? By the way, if he fires, I think it's Mueller, you call him Mueller, you say Mueller, I say Mueller, it's fine.
Yes.
If he fires him,
tomato.
Let me just say this about that. We will have a constitutional crisis if he attempts to fire the special counsel, and that likely will take a giant step toward the impeachment and conviction of Donald Trump.
Well, then would we be in a constitutional crisis?
We will be.
Are we there now?
First of all,
are we there now?
We're on the road, and as we talked last week, I don't see any exit ramps off this road we're on. There are only 3 possible outcomes. Now that Mueller is, and you have to trust the major news media in this country, is investigating Trump for obstruction, okay? Only 3 possible outcomes, right? Number 1, Trump tries to fire Mueller. He can't fire him himself. He can order Rosenstein to fire
Okay,
him.
let's go over this chapter and verse. If he fires Mueller, then what happens?
Then we have an absolute constitutional crisis. It looks like a cover-up. It looks like he's trying to fire the independent counsel appointed by his Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein. If he attempts to fire him, what does that say to everybody?
Okay, if he doesn't fire him,
Okay, only two possible outcomes. Mueller investigates and finds either, number one, there was collusion, in which case we have a constitutional crisis because the Republicans will have to act on impeachment. Or secondly, Mueller finds there was no collusion, which is very possible.
And
If that happens, all heck breaks loose. I want to say another word, but this is a family show.
Go ahead.
All hell breaks loose because then the Democrats will say it's a cover-up on Mueller's part. He's covering up for Trump.
yeah. Well, the Republicans will say this was all a waste of time and money.
Right.
All right, caller, you're on the air with Dennis Hart, the one and only, and we're glad there's only one. But go ahead. Yeah, only
Yeah,
room.
sounds
Yeah.
like everybody just has a big case of post-traumatic election stress disorder going. Big fat case.
Who does?
Anyways, I would like to say this up front for 2020. Judge Jeanine Pirro and Alex Jones for electoral ticket, and I believe if Donald had either one of them in there, they could get a lot of stuff straightened out. I think Donald Trump's approval rating keeps going up the higher that the Democrats keep messing with him. Also, I would like to see when you're going to have that nice Muslim cat, Rajneesh, on your show so we could phone in to apologize for yesterday's, in case you didn't know, the London thing that happened with the van.
Do you have a point you want to make? I'm not sure where you're going or even how to
I have no
respond to this.
idea. I have no idea why you
I
called.
was
I mean,
just saying that, okay, two things. Donald Trump's approval rating's going up. The more they mess with him, try to get him out of there, you know he's not a real politician. Number two, there was an attack in London yesterday. Somebody did in a van. And the third point is, can
Okay.
you get the guy from the Muslim Cultural Center?
yeah,
He
we.
hasn't been on the show for a while. I'd like
First
to
of
hear
all,
their
it's
point.
yeah. Just call her just to let you know. The man you're talking about is a great guy. He's been here before. He's from the Muslim Cultural Center, and his name is Reza Nekumenish. He's been here before. I have him booked to come on again to talk about not only what's happening overseas with some of these attacks, however, how the Muslim community is viewed here, and should we use taxpayer money to put in a fund to use as a legal defense fund against illegal immigrants. So that answers your question. Now, do you want to make any other comments or points toward Dennis?
No, I support Dennis. It's always great entertainment, kind of like the Donald Trump thing on TV. You're getting there, Dennis. It's a great show, man. I always watch you guys.
Thanks for the
And,
call. Yeah, he mentioned that there was an attack yesterday. Yeah, some
Of course
guy
there was. In fact, this morning, wasn't there an attack this morning?
in Paris.
In Paris.
In Paris, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there are terrorist attacks going on. This was against Muslims in London. Yeah,
Right.
I'm
the
not sure.
fourth one in a month.
Yeah, London's under siege
Or 2
right now.
months.
There's no question about that. And I'm not sure what to make of that. I'm not sure what the caller wanted to make of that. What do we say
Well,
about
what do we
that?
make of that is, I mean, what I make of that? Let me tell you what I make of that. I make of that that it's easier for any terrorist group, you name the terrorist group, I don't care, to get into Europe than it is here. And that's why these attacks are happening.
We've also been very lucky in the United States, as you know. We've got very good
Right.
law enforcement here, but we have to be correct 100% of the time. They have to be lucky one time to make an
I know
attack
that.
here, and that'll happen.
I know that.
That will. If they could do it, they'd do it tomorrow.
Our saving grace,
We're
we have
very
two
lucky.
of them, the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific
Yeah,
Ocean.
yeah. London is under siege right now. Look, they have a problem in Europe. There's no question about that. They have not assimilated their Islamic population nearly as well as the United States has. We have a large Islamic population here in this country, as you know. Dearborn, Michigan is largely Islamic, and they have assimilated into the United States relatively successfully. You are never going to stop 100% of terrorists. Terrorists want to destroy our way of life. They want to destroy London. They want to destroy England.
Before we go to break here, and that is a very important one. I'm not asking you if you know for sure, because none of us know for sure, but do you believe in your heart of hearts that this government of ours, one of the reasons we haven't had a major attack since 9/11, do you think they listen to all of our phone calls? Do you think they maybe they monitor this show, all shows?
No.
Are they monitoring? In your heart of hearts, Is that one of the reasons we haven't had an attack? They're monitoring us from top to bottom, and we don't even know it.
Well, no, they're
I'm not asking you to know for sure, but what do you believe?
no, that's not. How could they possibly?
I
How
don't
many
know. The NSA?
How many? Well, how many people
Guys at the computer sitting there all day listening.
listening to what?
I don't know what they're
There are
listening.
310 million people in the United States. How many people would it take to listen to 310
Did you ever
million
see
people?
Steve Kroft's story on 60 Minutes about the NSA?
Sure, but they're not monitoring this show. Why in the world? Who would
I
monitor
don't
this
know.
show? In what form or
Anything. They could
fashion would they monitor
I'm
this
just
show?
making that up, Dennis. I'm,
But
I'm
let's say-
asking you. Yeah, please answer the question.
No, the answer is no. They are not monitoring everybody.
They're not
I
monitoring.
wish they were. Look, I have no problem. I've said that on this show before. If the NSA, if the CIA, if the FBI, I'm being very straight here.
Yeah.
They want to monitor my email today, tomorrow, the next day. Go ahead.
They might be.
I'm not dealing in terrorism. I have no problem with you monitoring me because you're not going to find anything. I have no secrets on email or texting or anything like this. I hope they're monitoring a heck of a lot of people here because we need to have the best surveillance in the world. The terrorists want to come to the United States. They've already come, 9/11,
Yes.
etc. There have been other terrorist attacks, and there will be others. I hope, I do wish, quite frankly, they were monitoring my email or your email. They'd see that there's nothing there.
How about your phone calls, your text messages? They
so
could
what?
monitor that too.
So
Facebook.
what? Yeah. Yeah, when you and I talk on the phone, we talk trash anyway, but it's not about terrorism. It's about the Oakland A's, right? It's about
the
stuff
Oakland
like
A's
that.
and Aaron Judge.
No, I don't believe we're being monitored. I think the NSA is doing a great job. I hope they're
Yes.
doing a great job. We need to have, let's be straight here. We have far more to fear from terrorism in this country than we have to fear from the American government monitoring your emails. Terrorists want to blow you up. If they could plant a bomb here in the United States today, they'd plant the bomb.
I'm not saying it's a good look. I don't have a problem with the government monitoring. I don't think it's a problem if they can thwart one terrorist attack by
Correct.
monitoring my
Correct.
email or yours. Do it. You want to take my shoes off at the airport? Fine.
Oh,
you want to body
absolutely.
scan me? Fine.
Absolutely.
You want to strip me down to my not my underwear? Fine.
No.
I have
look,
nothing
no,
to hide.
You make a very good point,
I
though.
have nothing to
Let's
hide.
make a very serious point on
Okay.
that. There are people who complain, as you know, about the level of security in various buildings or at the airport.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no problem. If we have to get to the airport, any airport, 2 hours early to make sure that no idiot brings a bomb on board the plane I'm on, I'll be there 3 hours early. Don't complain because the TSA is looking at you or asking you to take off your belt or your shoes. You want them to do that, and you want them to do that for every single person who boards the plane you're on, don't you? You don't want to have to
Well,
worry
if they
about
didn't
that.
ask me to do that, I'd ask myself, who's flying the plane?
Well, exactly. I want them. If they want to open up my luggage, I have nothing to hide in my luggage. It's okay. Look at my underwear. There's no problem there. But don't complain about the level of security we have in this country because clearly we need it, don't
Yeah.
we? There are, as you know, you have to go through detectors to get into the county courthouse, the federal courthouse.
Yeah.
Security is very strong here,
listen.
and it needs to be.
I went through security, even though I was a member of the press. I had a press credential on Saturday.
Everybody goes through it.
Went through the Oakland Coliseum. They had metal detectors. Fine. I don't have a problem with that.
I covered courthouse cases in the Fresno County Courthouse for years at KMJ Radio. They knew me by sight down there. It was a first name basis, and every single day I went in, I went through security and took off the belt every single day, though they knew me, okay? And I
Right.
had no problem with that. Because I want them to do that for
They
everybody
check
who's
your
going on
bags
board the
going
plane.
into all these sporting events now, which is a good thing.
Absolutely.
436
Absolutely.
MeTV, option 11, my friends. You're here watching Connect with me on MeTV Fresno. Dr. Thomas Casagrande is our sponsor today. And by the way, we have the most controversial guest on Connect with me, Dennis Hart. So you can call in and weigh in. We have an open phone line right now. We're ready to stir it up on a Monday morning and get your week going. You don't even need coffee. You just watch this show with me and Dennis. Back in a moment.
Frigidaire. We introduced the first home freezer, the first pulsator agitator washer, and now we introduce the Frigidaire Orbit Clean dishwasher, designed with a unique wash arm that gives you 4 times more water coverage for a consistently better clean. Frigidaire, over 90 years of legendary innovation.
See the full line of Frigidaire appliances at Ventura TV Electronics and Appliances.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more. Eye exams start as low as $89, so call or stop by to schedule your appointment today. Back here on the program, you may or may not have heard that Donald Trump has hired, as part of his legal defense team, this guy named John Dowd. Okay, so it seems to me, the point I'm trying to make is, Dennis, is that he keeps adding to his legal counsel and his defense. What is that a sign of?
Well, it's a sign that the White House is under siege, all right? And Trump knows it, all right? This is not going to go away. No matter how many texts he sends out, no matter how many tweets he sends out, et cetera, he's under investigation for obstruction of justice. By the FBI, probably by the Senate Intelligence Committee, probably by the House Intelligence Committee, minus our friend Devin Nunes, the worst congressman in America who had to recuse himself from this. Because
oh, you mean this Devin Nunes? You mean the photo that we have of him? Are you talking about the Devin Nunes, this guy right here in front of the microphones
Devin
on
Nunes,
Capitol
by
Hill?
the way, and I have referred to him on this broadcast and on my blog site as the worst congressman in America because he disgraced himself. He's our congressman by being the toady for Donald Trump a few months ago, as you know, taking confidential information into the White House to reveal it. Information he'd received by a leak, which he now, of course, decries leaks. He got a leaked information, took it to Trump's people at the White House before he took it to his own House Intelligence Committee.
He himself is under investigation for doing what he did.
Yes. So Devin Nunes, who, of course, as you know, holds no public meetings now, only goes behind closed doors at private Republican fundraisers, refuses to meet with the public with town hall meetings, because he's a disgrace, and I have no problem saying that.
Andrew Jans of the DA's office is running against him, of course, next year, and there is a group, a coalition of movement to get Devin Nunes out of office. They are all over the state of California. In fact, they recently had a rally in Orange County, and many people from Fresno actually went down there. It's the movement to get these Republicans out in California, including the guy from Bakersfield, McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy. So Devin Nunes is, they have Devin Nunes in their sights. He is a target for them. And so how do you think Devin will fare? Because he's had opponents in the past. He's blown every one of them away. Because of the war chest he has.
And because he's in a gerrymandered district, as you know, that's heavily Republican down in Tulare County and reaching up here a little bit. Heavily Republican. Look, Devin, I think, is safe down there because there are a significant number of people who voted for Trump in Tulare County. And for them, and let's be clear about this, Trump was elected by these people to blow up government. It doesn't matter what Donald Trump does right now. If he obstructed justice, if he colluded with the Russians, that's really okay with them because they're guys in the White House. And if I'm speaking out of turn, I don't think I am, I'd like to have a Trump supporter call up and say, you know, I think Donald should be investigated, etc. But the truth is, most Trump supporters, anything he does is fine, isn't it? It's really okay. So he can fire Comey and he can potentially collude with the Russians, though I see no evidence of this at this point. Okay, that's what's being investigated. I'm not saying Donald Trump's going to be impeached and removed from office. I'm saying everything he does is self-inflicted. Every wound he creates, not by his opponents, by himself. Everything he does appears to be an effort to stop this investigation. Again, when you threaten Rod Rosenstein, the guy you appointed as Deputy Attorney General, you threaten him in a tweet, for heaven's sakes. What does that say about you? How about this, Donald? Maybe Donald Trump's watching this broadcast right now. Maybe he's monitoring.
Could be online. He'll watch it on YouTube. You never know.
How about this? If you did nothing wrong, then don't worry about it. There's nothing to worry about, is there? Quit talking about witch hunts. If you did nothing wrong, nobody's going to find anything, are they? And you're not going to be impeached and convicted. But every time you send out a stupid tweet, which implies you're colluding and overlooking the Russian connection. See, Trump, the part of the problem is he's never admitted what every law enforcement agency and every investigative agency has already concluded. The Russians tried to hack into our election. They tried to influence our election.
All right, I'm gonna be like the national and the New York media used to be. Okay, back in the 70s
tough.
Okay, and if I'm trying to beat a dead horse, Fine. I am beating a dead horse. Let's put up, Carrie, I want to put up the timeline, 1 through 7. Let's start with number 1, timeline number 1. Let's go over this with a fine-tooth comb. Look at this. On May 8th, he had Sally Yates and James Clapper testify before the Senate. Then on May 9th, the president fires the FBI director. Change it. Go to timeline number 2, May 9th, Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein detailed concerns about, Comey's manhandling of the Clinton email server. May 9th, Press Secretary Sean Spicer caught hiding in the bushes because he didn't want to answer questions about Comey being fired.
That would be the press secretary for the President of the United States, hiding in the bushes.
Yeah, hiding in the bushes. Okay, have you ever seen that before?
No.
Oh, my God. This is timeline 3. President Donald Trump meets with a Russian foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, and the ambassadors. And let's see, that's Kislyak in the Oval Office.
And by the way, he told them that he no longer has Comey to worry about in the Russian investigation. He tells these guys in the Oval Office.
That's right. That's right. Then Rosenstein threatens to resign after seeing now that his memo was used against Comey. Then the next one, the president tells NBC's Lester Holt that he was going to fire Comey anyway. Is that the last one, by the way? No. Let's go to the next one if we have it. Is that the last one? No, there it is. May 16, New York Times reported that Comey wrote detailed notes on how Trump asked him to drop his investigation into Michael Flynn. We can go on, and I detailed it. Pick it up from May 17th, and what has happened now? Do we have an investigation? Apparently we do, even though there were denials yesterday. And since then, my goodness, you've had Jeff Sessions that testified. Put up his photo. Jeff Sessions testified he was stonewalling. Kamala Harris was cut off by her own committee members. What do you make of that, Dennis?
I make that they were trying to protect this man, the Attorney General of the United States, the Republicans, yes.
On the committee.
Because this man, who's already recused himself, remember, from anything having to do with the Russian investigation, because he's so compromised by meeting with the Russians during the campaign and after the election. So he's recused himself.
I understand it, but Rosenstein has not.
No, well, of course not. So if Trump wants to fire Mueller, the independent counsel, okay, he cannot ask him to do it. He can't ask Sessions to do it because Sessions is recused. He can direct Rosenstein to do it. Rosenstein has said he would resign. Then it goes down the list of Justice Department people who, and Trump will find somebody. There's an order in the Justice Department. This should remind you very much of Watergate. Okay, remember what happened on the Saturday Night Massacre when Richard Nixon demanded that Attorney General Elliot Richardson fire Cox, the Watergate independent counsel, Archibald Cox. What happened? Elliot Richardson resigned. He then went to William Ruckelshaus, the Deputy Attorney General. That's Rod Rosenstein's position now, Rod Rosenstein's position. What did Ruckelshaus do? He resigned. He would not fire Cox. He had to go down to the Solicitor General, Robert Bork, who put himself into the history books by being the man who followed Nixon's order to fire Archibald Cox. That firing led directly to Nixon's impeachment, not to his impeachment.
So what's the parallel here? What's the parallel here?
Because if our boy Trump tries to fire our man Mueller, he's going to have to get rid of Rosenstein. Rosenstein will resign. He can't ask Sessions to do it. Sessions has recused himself. He's got to go down the line and find
So he would fire
somebody.
Rosenstein, and then next in line would be the number 3 guy.
Number 3, whoever that is. Number 3, number 4, until you find somebody who's going to fire Mueller. Now, if this happens, that's the worst case scenario for Trump. If he fires this man, what does that indicate that Trump's trying to do? I ask you and I ask your viewers, what does that indicate Trump's trying to do?
See, we have all these questions. We have no answers. But let me get back to, speaking of no answers, let's put up Jeff Sessions again, because if he wasn't willing to answer any questions, my God, I beg the question, what was he doing there in the first place?
Right. Trying to cover up for his president. I mean, he virtually said nothing. Right? He said, I can't discuss that.
I mean, at one point during the testimony, he told Kamala Harris, he says, these rapid-fire questions are making me nervous.
Yes, well, they should be.
Do you remember that?
They should be. Look, Jeff Sessions.
Are you kidding me?
The Attorney General is so compromised because of his actions involving the Russians, because of his meetings that he's held. Again, he's recused himself. Let's be very clear what that means. He cannot take part in any decisions made about this Russian investigation because he's compromised himself. He's pulled himself out of the investigation. Well, isn't that a problem for the Attorney General of the United States to do that? Isn't that an issue? So all of these Trump backers are saying, and look, I'm not a Trump hater, I'm really not, but everything Trump does seems to be saying, I want this to go away. Well, the only way it's going to go away is if you let it play out and you're exonerated. That means, for those of you in Rio Linda, as Rush Limbaugh would say, he's found not guilty. He's exonerated of all the collusion allegations being made against him. Let me be very clear. I see no evidence right now that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians. There is apparent evidence that other people working in his campaign may well have. We're talking Paul Manafort. We're talking Roger Price. We're talking
Flynn.
Michael Flynn. Well, obviously. And maybe now we're talking Jared Kushner, the son-in-law.
Yeah.
Why did Jared Kushner...
He's being investigated by Mueller.
By Mueller, exactly. Because what did Kushner do? He asked the Russians to create a secret back channel before Trump was inaugurated as president so that
they could communicate.
Communications could be made without anybody knowing. Why would you have to do that before your man is put into office? Why would the son-in-law do that? It looks like there's a problem, doesn't it? That's what they're investigating. Those issues need to be brought forward. Look, we need to know one way or the other. Doesn't the United States need to know? Don't you and I need to know? Doesn't every viewer out there need to know whether the President of the United States had inappropriate contacts with the Russians? If he did not, great.
Put up the photo of Robert Mueller, if you would. This is the independent counsel investigating, obviously now, the Trump administration into the possible Russian connection.
Yeah.
Everyone from Republicans to Democrats across the board seem to believe that Robert Mueller is a fair and just man, and he's the right man for the job.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Yes. Robert Mueller has an impeccable reputation. As you know, he was appointed FBI director by whom? Was it Barack Obama? No, that would be George W. Bush, the Republican. He was asked to stay on as FBI director by Barack Obama because he thought he was an excellent choice for the job. It was James Comey who succeeded Robert Mueller as FBI director. Now, all of a sudden, some Republicans, including Newt Gingrich, are saying, well, you know, he's appointed these special guys for the investigation. Mueller has hired some people to help with the investigation. And
He's hired a whole host of attorneys.
Right. And some of them are Democrats, and they can't be trusted. Right. According to Gingrich, only Republicans can be trusted to investigate, never Democrats. So Gingrich is just a joker. He doesn't, you know, that's
He was
fine.
on ABC yesterday.
Yeah, and I saw him on ABC. He had nothing. And Martha Raddatz tore him apart, but, you know, that's just Gingrich. But the real bottom line is we all need to know.
But why is Mueller so well respected across the aisle?
Because he's perceived as being incorruptible, because he's fair, because he's tough, because everything he did as FBI director was perceived to be above board and clean. And again, remember who appointed Robert Mueller as FBI director? George W. Bush, the Republican. Robert Mueller is apparently beyond reproach. He was apparently the best man. I couldn't think of anybody better to be appointed as a special counsel than Mueller, okay, to look at this.
All right.
Okay. The fact that he's appointed among his 13 so far hires to help him investigate some Democrats means nothing. It just means there are some Democrats there.
Yeah, but how do you compare him to Robert Bork and to Ken Starr?
Well, Starr, I thought, did a good job in his investigation of Bill Clinton, and he was excoriated for it. Starr went where the evidence led him. The evidence led him to an obstruction of justice charge against Clinton. Lying under oath is what Bill Clinton was impeached for.
Does Mueller have to be nonpartisan? Does he just have to go based on fact?
Yeah, just on fact, of course. And apparently he is.
And the rule of law.
Yeah. So here's what you want Robert Mueller to do. You want Robert Mueller, if there's any evidence that Donald Trump colluded, you want him to say he colluded. You want him also to say, if there's no evidence, he did not collude. You want this out. You want to know this. Please don't call in and say there shouldn't be an investigation. Of course there should be, because there's evidence that the Russians hacked into the Democratic National Committee.
What about an investigation by Mueller into his former FBI director, James Comey, who leaked information as well, and he admitted it during that committee hearing?
Well, first of all, what is there to investigate about James Comey? He admitted after he was fired as FBI director, and therefore
he leaked his notes.
He gave his notes to a friend at Harvard, who then gave them to the New York Times. Yeah,
right.
What would there be to investigate about that?
Since he's already... Should he have done that?
Yes, because he thought that Donald Trump was covering up the investigation and trying to impede the investigation.
Okay, but I've read both in the New York Times and Washington Post that Comey is not completely clean either, based on his he's inconsistent with his actions. He's inconsistent,
Comey
Dennis.
made some serious mistakes. Everybody makes serious mistakes at times when you have a serious job. He made a mistake in the Hillary Clinton investigation.
Are these just innocent mistakes?
Probably. Well,
Are
first
we
of
sure
all,
about that,
first of all, Hillary Clinton hates James Comey as much as Donald Trump does. That means that both sides think that he's a bad guy, right? That's probably a good sign that both sides think he's a bad guy. Hillary Clinton would have fired James Comey on the first day that she was in office because she thinks that he cost her the election. Donald Trump wanted to fire James Comey because, my goodness, he's looking into my Russian connection. What does that indicate to you when he's teed off both sides? Probably doing a decent job, though making some mistakes.
But there was nothing illegal about him leaking his notes, his private conversations
of course
with
not.
the president to a friend.
He was no longer a public official, was he? He was a private citizen.
All right. Okay, caller, you're on the air with Dennis Hart, and go ahead.
Dennis Hart, now this is the guy that's been on, what, 60, 70 times now?
No, not 70 yet. I hope to make 70 if I live long enough. I hope to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking for the bias adjustment on my TV here because everything seems to be so far left that I can barely perceive you.
God.
Yeah.
Well, hang on.
You know, it's
but before you say
kind of sad.
Before you
I'm
say
kind of
anything,
sad you're still in those 5 pages of what? Go ahead. You've been talking for 30 minutes. Go ahead.
I'm trying to adjust the bias dial on our telephone system too. Go ahead.
Hang on 1 second though.
Yeah.
Before you say anything, and I realize you're about to rip into me. No, that's fine. No, and I love that. But let me just ask you a question. You've been watching the broadcast for 30 minutes. We're about 30 minutes in. Did you not hear me say at least twice that if Mueller finds that there was no collusion, we need to know this, but the investigation should continue so we can clear the air? Did you not hear me say that one?
Hey, listen, like I said, I've been listening. It took 30 minutes for the Pepto-Bismol and the Alka-Seltzer to kick in before I could call.
Well, you need another antacid then. Go ahead.
Well, you just bring the bile up because it's, again, so left, brother, so left.
So
again,
left,
the 5 stages of grief and loss. I know you're still in number one, anger.
What
number
is
one,
left?
anger.
What is left?
And then denial.
What's left?
And then depression. Okay, progressive. I'm sorry, a little progressive there. And then bargaining and acceptance. You know, we saw this from the progressives this week. You know, the little baseball game. We can't handle things because
whoa! Stop! That's outrageous, and that's out of line. That's out of line. You never, don't ever make the mistake of calling this broadcast when I'm on there and suggesting that somehow I'm tied into the nut who shot those. Don't ever make that mistake. I object to that.
I didn't connect you with that. I'm talking about the rhetoric that's been going on in the media. What you've been on 67 times. I asked you last time to name 3 good things that Trump did, and you couldn't even name 3 good things. And this is the bottom line. We have kind of dissension. I'm going to accuse you of being associated with the burner. But this is the problem with the Russian investigation. It showed the hijinks that were going on in the Democratic Party by the DNC, by the operatives of the DNC against a legitimate candidate for president. You talk about somebody that got screwed by the Russians, it was Bernie Sanders. And this is what you saw this week. I'm not accusing you of any connection with that. Don't be so thin-skinned.
Oh, my skin's pretty thick.
All right, listen. The bottom line is this is the kind of rhetoric that they were talking about last week, and we haven't even touched on the congressional baseball shooting.
No, we haven't.
The practice. The kind of heated rhetoric that has led to some of this violence, and I think that, I think this was an angry...
First thing this morning...
Wait a second, let me finish. I think this was an angry, lonely, depressed individual who was looking for attention. He felt probably insufficient within himself.
Well,
he felt insignificant within himself. He wanted to make headlines. This was like a lone guy that was listening to the rhetoric on both sides and decided to act on it. Don't you think that's true, caller?
You know, it's possibly true, but you look at the websites he was looking at, you look at the rhetoric he was listening to, which is very mainstream. You know, Madonna, I want to blow up the White House.
That's not mainstream rhetoric.
And all we could do, well, you listen to the liberal media, and it seems to be pretty mainstream. It seems like everybody's against Trump. What did Meathead say? I can't remember the guy, Paul Reiner, he said that everybody in America is embarrassed of Trump. That's not true. That is not true.
That's
and you
correct.
Come on,
That's not true.
and you say the only thing that matters is this Russian investigation. And it is just one small facet of this presidency. We have a new Supreme Court justice. We have so many good things going on. Stock market, record level, unemployment, 16-year low. And all you can talk about is the Russians. You know, you liberals, you left-leaning progressives act like you never saw a James Bond movie. The Russians have been our enemies for years. You ever watch James Bond? Who was the enemy? They may not have called them the Russians, but it was the Red Scare. You guys act like you just met the Russians in November 9th. They were screwing around with our elections, with our system, spying. I mean, go back through the infiltrations of communist countries in our spy systems, and we make it sound like this is something that just happened, and it's all Donald Trump's fault.
Hey, caller,
and
do
now
me a favor. Caller.
Take a breath. Take a breath.
Caller, and let me ask you something, because I got to go. I got to go to a break, but name 3 things that Donald Trump has done that are really positive.
Keystone Pipeline, thousands of jobs, Supreme Court justice, giving somebody a conservative voice, somebody that interprets the Constitution, repeal of Obama-era mandates that had no consensus other than his pen, Cuba, repeal of Affordable Care Act. Shall I go on?
Well, yeah, the Affordable Care Act has not been repealed, as you know. It's only passed one house. And
well,
let me just ask you, let me just ask you this, caller, okay? And I appreciate you calling in. You've called in several times before. I think you
you just got to be balanced, brother. You got to be balanced.
Well, if you let me get a word
it's
out.
almost like it's rabid. You know, you're right. The people on, and I would never compare you to the nutball that, you know, takes an SKS and tries to kill a bunch of people. That is so wrong.
Yeah.
That is so above where we are. But you look at the hatred we have. They showed it in polls. It's not that you disagree with your neighbor. You hate your neighbor.
Correct.
And
That's
we can't have that. And you, as a radio show host, need to come out with a little bit of balance. And this Russian thing, you know, go watch a couple of James Bond movies, brother. I mean, you need to get into the current situation.
You know, I've seen.
All right.
Hey, caller,
we gotta go. We gotta go.
Hang on,
Okay,
caller.
that's KC from Merced.
Let me just respond to a couple of things, caller. I've seen.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank
Go
you,
ahead.
Casey.
Yeah.
And thanks for listening to my radio commentaries. I've seen all the James Bond movies, but I have no idea how seeing a James Bond movie would tie in with the collusion of the Russians. You say that the Russians have hacked our elections or impacted our elections for years. Is that a good thing? Should we not be looking at that? Should we not try to stop that? Is it not a bad thing that the Russians are trying to influence who's elected president of these United States? Right. So one more quick thing. Labels are always a bad thing. In fact, I did a commentary, which you obviously heard, about labels. Don't label me a progressive. You have no idea what I am. I've been on this broadcast many times, and I've criticized Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama. I've criticized the congressional leadership for the Democratic Party. But when we have an investigation by the FBI, by the House and Senate Intelligence Committees, into possible collusion with the Trump campaign and the Russians, brother, as you say, and thanks for calling me brother, that's a serious story. That's a serious issue that ain't going to go away whether you want it to go away or not.
I know the caller's gone, but who appointed Mueller to investigate?
That would be Rod Rosenstein, who appointed Mueller to investigate.
Okay.
Rod Rosenstein, whom Trump appointed as deputy AG.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I knew you knew the answer to that question, and so did I. But before I go to break here, David Brooks, you know who he is, New York Times. This is what he said, and we haven't talked about the shooting that took place last week, where several people were shot. Thank goodness no one died except for the shooter. But David Brooks said the reason this took place is, yes, part of it was because of the rhetoric, but most of it was because the shooter himself felt insignificant and he had low self-esteem. Well, I mean, and he felt like he was not part of the conversation because he was a Bernie Sanders supporter. That came from David Brooks, New York Times.
But David Brooks,
is he right?
Well, who would know? David Brooks has no idea why this guy did it. This guy's dead. He didn't tell us why he did it.
But this is one of the theories going on out there.
But it's when you say, is he right? You have no idea and I have no idea. But I do know this.
Does that make sense then?
Well, I don't know. But here's what we know about this guy. This guy hated Donald Trump. Posted on Facebook that he wanted
hated
Trump.
Republicans.
Yes, hated Republicans. Wanted them to die. Now, the rhetoric going on in this country, and we haven't talked about it, and we need to, is the most incendiary rhetoric probably that we've had since the Civil War 150 years ago. From the left and the right.
Yeah.
You see it on Facebook. You see it on Twitter.
Yep.
You hear it on talk radio. Everybody who calls into talk radio these days, everybody is angry. They're exploding.
Everybody's angry.
Their heads are exploding. None of this is good for this country. What this guy did, this guy took it to the ultimate extent. He asked somebody, are these Democrats or Republicans playing baseball? When he found out they were Republicans, he opened fire.
Right.
That's what this leads to. And I've said on this broadcast, I've said on radio, I've said it for years. We cannot continue this hatred. Caller was right. Casey out of Merced is right. Democrats hate Republicans. Republicans hate Democrats. That has to stop, or we're going to have a tragedy that's unimaginable in this country. Is that really what we want? Is that what Democrats really... When you blowtorch Republicans on Facebook in the most vile language, when Republicans blowtorch Democrats on Facebook, do you want a tragedy? Do you want somebody to be killed in this country? Is that what you want? On Facebook, one of my Facebook people, in the wake of the Scalise shooting, actually posted something which I'm outraged by. This person said, and this is beyond contemptible, I don't have any sympathy for Steve Scalise. He's a scumbag. I don't care if he dies. Okay, let me tell you.
Very insensitive.
Let me tell you what that leads to. More hatred. Do you think that kind of language brings us together? Does that move you any closer to having what you really want, which is Donald Trump to be removed from office? If I have any message here today, if you take nothing away from this, stop the garbage talk. Stop the hate talk. Stop it in your families. Stop it on Facebook. Stop it on Twitter. How does this help the United States? This garbage, stupid talk that I see on Twitter every day and on Facebook, this hatred, leads to what happened last week. It's going to lead to an unimaginable tragedy in this country. Do you want that to happen?
Yeah.
Really? When a Kathy Griffin, the alleged comedian, holds up a severed
comedian?
head. Yes, alleged.
Okay.
What's funny about holding up a severed head of Donald Trump covered in blood? No wonder your career's been destroyed, Kathy. It should have been destroyed. You obviously have gone over the edge. You have no right to be on CNN.
Well, what about
you have
what
no right to
Colbert
be
is
anywhere.
doing every night on CBS? That's why his ratings have skyrocketed.
Yes.
Colbert is doing the same thing. He's just not holding the head up.
Not holding the head up. He's denigrating Donald Trump every single
Right.
night. That's correct.
Jimmy Kimmel is to a certain extent, but
Yeah.
not like Colbert.
Yeah.
Colbert is really over the top. And one thing about Johnny Carson, who you and I both love.
Never did that.
Never did that.
30
you couldn't
years on
tell
the air.
whether or not he
That's
was
correct.
a Republican
That's
or
correct.
a Democrat. And
This-
Jay Leno, kind of the same thing.
Exactly right. This incendiary feeling that everybody has right now, and you're seeing it in so many areas.
Right.
It's not just the national political scene. You're seeing it at school board meetings. You're seeing it at city council meetings. I mean, it's as if people have lost their grip on reality. It's as if we no longer can have a conversation. We have to use vile language. We have to denigrate. That's garbage
we gotta
stuff.
move on. I want two more topics out of you. So, caller, quickly. We're short on time here. Caller, go ahead.
Are you there?
Are you there? Caller?
Maybe not.
Maybe not. Well, that's, okay. Call back, 436 MeTV, option 11. Want to switch topics real quick because Aaron Blair's going to be here. He's the president, CEO of the Downtown Partnership for the city of Fresno.
Yep.
The Fulton Street's supposed to open up. Okay, I've said this before, Dennis. I know you know a lot about downtown. The fact of the matter is they have 6 breweries down there. They have a street that's opening up. They have a baseball park. But that doesn't mean people are going to go flocking downtown.
No, opening up the Fulton Mall to Fulton Street is not going to bring people north of Shaw downtown. Here's what's happening
After
downtown.
5 o'clock,
That's
they're not
right.
going to come.
No, of course not. I mean, and you get normally 3,000-4,000 people at the ballpark, and they go right back north right after the game, and they don't come down and do anything
What's there to
before the
do
game.
when there's
Right,
not a ball
right,
game there? What's
right.
there to do
Exactly.
after 5 p.m.?
Downtown is a very difficult situation. Downtown, I grew up in Fresno, and I was there when the Fulton Mall was dedicated 50 years ago
Right.
when they opened it up. Now they're going to tear it. They've torn it out. And it's not going to open up anytime soon. If you've been down there, even though city officials, first said it was going to open last month in May, it's still a mess down there. It's not going to open for a while. But here's the bottom line. Downtown was dying for years after the mall went in. It was killed officially when
Hang on,
the city
caller.
council in the early 1970s approved Fashion Fair. Fashion Fair moved everybody out north. People decided they wanted to live and shop out north. They've already made that decision. There's nothing that's going to bring downtown Fresno back. And I know that no city officials can ever say that publicly because that's not politically correct. But I'm a longtime Fresno resident. I love Fresno, okay? downtown is never coming back because the people who can bring downtown back all live north of Shaw or north of Herndon, and they don't want to go downtown. I'm downtown a lot. I invite you to walk downtown during the week and on weekends. There's nobody downtown on weekends. And the people you see downtown on weekends are people you don't want to see downtown on weekends. You wouldn't want to see them in your neighborhood, okay?
All right.
So the bottom line is, great, I think it's great to open Fulton Street again, but to think that that's going to be a difference maker, sorry, there's no difference maker.
All right, change topics now. Let's go to the call. Caller, you're on the air with Dennis Hart. Short on time, though. Make it quick because I got to get to Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I know I didn't mean to go back to the same subject,
Quick.
but I wanted to say I agreed with everything that you said after I hung up. And, you know, I use a little humor when I talk to you, and I appreciate you, the banter, but it's not anything personal. And I agree that we need to be more civil in the discourse, and I think you bring that to this show. So I really wanted to say I agree with everything you said, and hope to see you again.
And keep listening on radio, too.
Okay, good deal. Thanks, KC, out of Merced. All right, Oakland A's. They swept the New York Yankees over the weekend, 4 straight, and our guy Aaron Judge from Fresno State. Now, a big article in the Fresno Bee showed yesterday that 3 big superstars have come out of Fresno State. They're playing 3 different sports. It's the only time it's ever happened in our history that 3 have come out of one university. Aaron Judge playing for the Yankees, Derek Carr for the Raiders, Paul George, of course, for Indiana, who wants to go to the Lakers, by the way. All right, Aaron Judge, 23 homers. He struck out. He had a homer Friday night, but he struck out 3 times on Saturday, had an RBI single on Sunday. They're making this guy out to be the next Mickey Mantle.
Yeah, I know, and every golfer who comes along and wins a major is the next Jack Nicklaus, and we've heard that so many times. Every hockey player is the next Wayne Gretzky. We all know that. It's very early in Aaron Judge's career, okay? Very, very early. As you know, pitchers are seeing him for the first time, many of these pitchers. They haven't found his holes. Every hitter has a hole. Before we start talking about the next Mickey Mantle, my favorite player of all time, by the way. I love Mickey Mantle,
Mine
number
too.
7.
My favorite of all time.
Let's let Aaron Judge have, how about 4 years under his belt? How about 3 or 4 years where he's the next Mickey Mantle, as opposed to his first full year where he's off to a great start? I mean, he's leading in home runs and batting average, right up there in RBIs. MVP candidate in the American League.
Here's the question I have, because I only got 2 minutes here. I was there on Saturday. I witnessed this huge throngs of people from Linden, just east of Stockton, from Stockton, people from Fresno out there to greet him. After he took batting practice underneath the tunnel out there near center field, he came out. He almost went into the stands to hug his former high school coach, former teammates. He hugged women, children. He took selfies. He came out of there. I talked to him personally. He said he felt no pressure, but he had tears in his eyes. Very emotional guy to see people from his hometown cheering him on. But Dennis, a question for you. And the New York media, they seem like sheep to me. They're not the media of the 70s and 80s really pounding down on the players. They seem to be propping him up. What's going to happen once the New York media starts pouncing on Aaron Judge? How will he handle it?
Well, no one knows, and that's the thing right now. He's in the honeymoon period in New York, okay? Everybody wants this kid, and he's a kid, to succeed. We all want him to succeed. You're absolutely right. The media in New York are notorious for being horrendous to their athletes when they start failing, or teams that start failing, or coaches who start failing. No mercy, right?
Right.
I mean, Mickey Mantle.
How's he going to react to it?
Roger Maris went through it. Babe Ruth went through it. I mean, this is the toughest media in the world, and it's an open question. This kid is not from Fresno. As you know, he went to Fresno State.
I know, he's from Linden, east of Stockton.
Right. We think he's a great kid. He's in the honeymoon period. Let's hope that when he starts going bad, and he will start going bad because pitchers will learn how to pitch to him, that the media don't destroy this kid.
Yes.
Let's hope they don't destroy him.
And a boo-boo to the Vice President of Communications and Media Relations, Jason Zillow, who cut me off because I talked to, what's his name, Joe Girardi, the manager of the Yankees, for a post-game question. I wanted to get in on Judge for his 3 strikeouts, and he poo-pooed my question. What happened to free speech?
Right.
Aren't we a free media society?
Well,
are we not? I'm not free to ask what questions I want. I have to be censored.
Wasn't the question they wanted you to ask. We haven't also talked very briefly. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors
World
out
champs.
of Oakland. Oakland really deserves it, and we hope those A's get that new ballpark.
Yeah, right, Dennis. We'll talk about that next time.
I'll be around.
Guess what? In 5 years, Oakland may not have a team of any kind. Back tomorrow with Aaron Blair. I was going to say Aaron Judge.
Aaron
but
Judge will be here. That's
Yeah,
right.
Aaron Blair tomorrow, the Downtown Partnership. Have a great day.
I'll be the judge.
Tonight I want to discuss the importance of the television medium to the American people.
At 2020 Optometric, your vision is their focus. Whether you're 5 or 65, Dr. Thomas Casagrande will get to know you, your lifestyle, and vision needs to ensure that your contacts or eyeglasses are a perfect fit and the right prescription every time. With the Valley's largest selection of eyewear, 2020 has over 2,000 frames, including top designer brands like Coach, Tiffany, Prada, Ray-Ban, Oakley, and more.